and this is your calling. God has said, you know what, John, I want you to go out there and rap and, spit those bars, whatever God says to you, okay? And your family might be thinking like...
You are now listening to the Conscious Creative Corner, the intersection of unapologetic lifestyle and creativity. Get ready to be inspired and dive into uncensored truths with tackling business and mental space with other transparent influencers and entrepreneurs. Let our conscious conversations normalize the chaos you may call life. Our episodes will give you the confidence you need to zone in on your creativity and manifest your innate abilities to create. Let's get consciously creative. Welcome back, creatives, to the Conscious Creative Corner. I'm your host, Sia, and today's topic is something that isn't really talked about much, but we're going to be talking about it today. So I wanted to touch on something that might be a little irritating to some, sensitive to others, but it's about our family members and the family members that support us or don't support us. The family members that we love and they love us too, but they don't actually love what we do all the time. So I was watching a show the other day, and on their show, they were talking about a young woman who, I believe she wanted to become an artist, but her family was so dead set on her becoming a doctor. When I say this young woman was so crushed, and you could just really see in her eyes that she wanted to please her family, but also please herself, it was one of those kind of deals. So, she called into the show seeking help and advice, and a couple of the show hosts were telling her, sometimes you have to deviate from your family's beliefs in order to be successful or to really live out your happiness. Now, this is not really what they said verbatim, but in a nutshell, that's what I took from it. When I was listening to the show, I really, connected with this because it resonated with me so much when I started to think about some of the people I encounter, some of the people that are close to me, and how they desire to be really creative. And they desire to have this lifestyle that doesn't look conventional to, regular life, and how some of the people that they really hope would give them support doesn't give them the support that they're looking for. In the creative world, it's our nature to sincerely want to do things that actually look different, that deviate from the status quo. So it's not really a big surprise, at least not to me, at least when I see people that don't really understand us. And I'm kind of coming to you really raw and transparent. I have had a couple of family members who really don't understand what I do. When I was first starting to kind of do my YouTube thing and everything else, people just really didn't understand that. And then when I started to create other things, they still didn't understand that and say, they would say things like, you can't do this, you have to do one thing. And it kind of hurt me. And even when it wasn't in the creative sense, when I was doing so many different business things, they just couldn't understand why I wasn't an entrepreneur, but a multipreneur. And look at it now, people are multipreneurs. So, hey, family member, I was doing what I wanted to do, and it's a thing now. So should have believed in me. No shade. I still love them. But that just goes to say that everyone's not really going to understand your journey. You have to be comfortable in the space that you're in right now in order to succeed. So when it's really time to expose yourselves to the people that you love and your family, it's not necessarily the most comfortable thing for you. It might be an uneasy, journey to really explain to them what it is that you're doing. Not even sometimes, oftentimes, when we bring these things to people, it's received with rejection. I don't know for some of you guys out there if you've experienced this, but living a creative lifestyle isn't necessarily something that's supposed to be fully lucrative from jump. But instead, it most time it builds, And that's why a lot of people think that what you're doing is a hobby because they don't see the money there from the start. And watching this show really made me think about some of this stuff and how it affects some of us who are indeed creative and who have struggled with not having that support. And sometimes when we're struggling with the ideal to please others or our family members, it then kind of interferes with our work. it sometimes creates those blockages because we ourselves, people leave funds for their family because they want to, I guess, build a legacy. We ourselves, we're doing that creatively. And just knowing that from a cultural perspective and background, this young lady that was on television, from her culture, she said that everyone has to either be a lawyer or do something in the business field. And though she was going to be a business owner in her own way, they just couldn't understand why she wanted to be an artist and not like a store owner or something along those lines. And, I get it. These people that love us, they are coming from a good place. But the thing is, they're not seeing those 6-7 figure income as quickly for us because they don't see our creative natures being 6-7 figure jobs, which in fact can happen. Our standard world sees corporate jobs as something that is lucrative, or, nursing, or, being a doctor. And they use that to gauge our success, which is really hard on creatives because guess what? You can't, and I mean cannot, complete who you are if you're completely basing your life on someone else. So let's kind of think about some things that we can do to negate these feelings that we're feeling. As creators, you don't start off right away with those $100,000 paintings that you can sell, or having your music right on television right away or on the radio. It's a buildup. It's that instant gratification versus that road to success that some people don't get. Because let's say when you have your standard job, you're expecting that check every week. When you're creative and you're living this creative world, you're not sure if you're going to get a check that week. And that's probably the hesitancy that some of your family members might feel. But here I am, just to provide you with some encouragement and have this transparent conversation with you to say, hey, Mom, I love you, but this choice that I'm making, I'm choosing to make it for my own happiness, for my own sake. So let's say, for instance, you decide to go ahead and take that nursing job, even though in your heart to hearts, that's not for you. And you kind of just quease at the sight of blood. People aren't necessarily going to love that job simply because that's not where their hearts lie. And then what? You went to go take that nursing job because mom says you need to be a nurse. And you don't get to live out that happiness that you desired. How do you go from there? Some people don't want to spend their lives drawing blood or, being around a bunch of sick people, even though they can help. It takes heart for that. But that's just not your kind of heart. Your heart might be seeking music. Your heart might be seeking poetry. Your heart might be seeking words to heal rather than medication to heal. And those are things that we have to think about. So if you're being pressured, to say, yeah, I'm ready to be a nurse, I'm going to challenge you to stop and think, because sometimes that pressure is not coming from within. That pressure is coming from external forces, aka our family members, that are suppressing our creativity. You're not going to be living that happy life you want because you're living that happy life your mom said you might want, even though that's not what you want. You're living somebody else's dream. You're living somebody else's future. Now, how do you deal with those people? How do you deal with the rejection that you might get from a family member that's supporting you, that you might be living with? So, this is something else that happened. The young lady, she was living with her parents, I believe. And she was just like, well, how do I tell them I don't want to do this? And it's kind of, thinking about to today, if you are living with someone and they are supporting you and they are giving you a bunch of your financial support, then they might expect something from you. So it's kind of simple. It's time to come from underneath them. It's time to create your own solid support and really live out that vision that you have set for yourself, because it's hard to say yes. You are creative and you have support from other people. If those people aren't really supporting you because you're supposed to be living under their playbook. And in the Black community, a lot of times this isn't necessarily fostered, sad to say, because of the struggle and the plight that the community has. You have to always make that money. You have to, try to come out on top. And I guess struggling isn't necessarily a part of the process. People don't really want to see struggle as a part of the process, but I'm challenging people to ask around, some successful people and ask them if they struggled, because it might seem like they haven't, but trust me, they have. It might not look like the same struggle, but everyone's struggle in some sense or form. So once you come out of, your family members or your loved one's playbook, you have to figure out how you want to support yourself and find a means in which you'll be able to be happy with what you're doing. So that means you have to move out. I know all of this sounds like it's supposed to be easy and right away, which is not. But if you have to move out, you move out. You create a plan for yourself, especially because, let's say, you want to be a rapper and this is your calling. God has said, you know what, John, I want you to go out there and rap and, spit those bars, whatever God says to you, okay? And your family might be thinking like you're wasting your time. I'm not telling you to dissolve all your responsibilities and say, forget this phone bill. I'm about to go out there. I'm about to go to every music show. I'm about to show off and join every cipher and show off all my talent. I'm not telling you to do that. What I am telling you to do is sit down and have some self-reflection, refocus, and write out your plan for yourself. Write out the plan that's going to tell how you're going to come out from your parents. Write out that plan that's going to tell you how you're going to move out from your family members in a respectful way, but also how you're going to pay those bills that you might have on yourself. If you have to get a small job just to fund that dream, then you get that small job, fund that dream, fund your creativity, and then keep it pushing. Don't get stuck, because sometimes you will, but don't get stuck. But do what you have to do in order to make sure your plan is solid. Sometimes, too, you might have to write in your plan how you're going to up your skill. When you have a craft, you don't just sit on it. You feed your craft. If you're still on this rapper route, you are upping your writing skills. So maybe you need to take some writing classes. Sometimes you want to touch up on your vocals. This is all going to take some money, Sure, YouTube is great. But if you're really serious about your craft, you might want to invest a little in yourself. And you're going to have to figure that out in this plan. And the rejection that you're going to feel isn't always going to be the best, right? Rejection never feels great. And I sometimes, I'm not going to say everybody, but sometimes people will get totally rejected and be shunned from their family members, kicked out. And you have to prepare yourself for that. But you also need to know that sometimes it takes others to shift in their thought and shift in their visions for you in order for them to move forward. So what that means is maybe, you had that aunt that really wanted you to become an accountant, and she's been dead set on that. And it's really hard for Auntie Mariah to shift her thinking. But once Auntie Mariah shifts her thinking and her vision, then she'll be able to kind of support you. Maybe not in the way that you know or want, but it's going to be a support there. Because right now, Auntie Mariah might be stuck in her ways. She might be stuck in her own thinking and really can't wrap her head around the idea of what you want. But that's okay, because what you want doesn't have to involve her. Not saying you're shutting them out, but it doesn't have to involve her acceptance, and this is when you have that tough conversation. You say, I love you, but please, try to support me the best you know how. It might not be with your words, Auntie Mariah, but maybe if you can just oftentimes show up to a show, that'll mean a lot to me, even if you don't necessarily believe in me. How are you going to live with these people, though, and create this space where maybe you can still share that energy with Mom or Auntie Mariah or Uncle Denzel, and making sure that when you're around them, there isn't much animosity held between you two? How do you do that? You do that simply by creating this clear mental space. It's okay to sit down and refocus and realign. It's okay to take breaks from family members. It's completely okay. Or don't listen to people that tell you, you can't do that. This is your family member. No, you absolutely can, because you need to mind your mental all the time. Your mental stability has to be on the forefront, because guys, when your mental stability is not on the forefront, you are quick to deteriorate. If you think about cancer patients, studies that show that those who are mentally stronger actually live longer and have more resilience than others. So, some of this stuff is going to look crazy. Some of these things are going to seem crazy to you. Auntie Maria might have every right to give you a curve eye if you are that kind of person, though, that doesn't really follow through, where, 1 minute you're saying, Auntie Maria, I'm about to be a rapper. I'm quitting my job at McDonald's. Let me go be a rapper. And then 2 seconds later, Auntie Maria's like, what happens to being a rapper? And you're just like, oh, that ain't for me, Auntie. I'm about to go work at Home Depot. You work at Home Depot, then you realize that, painting is what I want to do. And you go start painting for a week. Quit Home Depot. Auntie Maria's gonna be like, what's going on? I thought you said you want to do this. And, she's gonna give you that curve eye. And that makes sense. Let me tell you why. Because you're not giving yourself time to write a plan and see it through. So don't always just jump on every opportunity either. It's okay to sit down and process. And sometimes too, if you're like myself, you might process some of your thoughts out. For me, when I'm talking and thinking about new things I want to do, I process my thoughts out. But you'll know that I'm serious if I sit down and make an outline, a timeline, or even a business plan, because I treat every endeavor, whether it's a hobby or not, like a business, because it's going to take time, effort, and passion in order to see these things through. And sometimes people need to see an outline to understand. So if you want to approach some of your family members with an outline so they take you seriously, so they don't think, quote unquote, that you're just being lazy, you might want to do that. And again, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone, guys, but if you really do want to keep that bond with your family, it might be something that you can look into. I don't want you to think that just because someone doesn't support you in the way that you think they should, that they don't support you at all. If you're trying to do something creative, you're putting yourself out there, and it can become your livelihood too. So maybe explaining to them that, hey, even though I'm doing this, I am making some kind of income from this. And even if you're not, again, you don't have to explain yourself, but even if you're not, you can tell them, I'm planning to make this lucrative. And even though this isn't like a job that's just handed to me after an interview, this is something I'm building from the ground up. Perhaps they'll be able to shift their perspective. So making sure that you're mentally able to speak these words in that space where you feel safe and comfortable enough to say it will help. I'm really hoping that everyone found a little piece of something out of listening to today's episode, especially if you are that one person that is going through it. I do send out my love, happiness, and blessings towards you, because I know this is never an easy conversation to have with loved ones, family members, friends. So I'm giving you all my support. Perhaps if your family is threatening to cut you off, and you don't want to feel any pressure, sometimes it's okay to kind of hold off as well and make sure that you're going to be in a comfortable enough space to let go. And I know it's never easy to say, hey, I have to put my dreams on hold, but sometimes your dreams needs funds. And if your parents or family members are funding your life right now and they cut you off, you're not going to be able to fund anything. You're not going to be able to eat. You're going to have to put your creativity on hold. So again, sit back, draft that plan. When you draft that plan, maybe they'll shift their focus and their understanding. And even if they can't, that's totally fine. I said it before, you don't have to please everyone. And even if they were backing you, if you were just completely doing, I guess, an accountant, being an accountant, or being a doctor or a nurse, those professions, that kind of give that instant gratification, income-wise, and they're exalted all the time, it's okay. Because right now what you're doing is you're finding your passion and you're pursuing on it and caring less. Just kind of like what my friend would say, care less and I think live more, something like that. Care less and live more is her saying, and I believe it. Because when you put yourself in that mental funk of really caring what other people say, you're going to miss your calling, guys. And you don't ever want to miss your calling, because God grants you so much creativity and gifts for a reason. He endows you with these blessings because he wants you to use it. So please don't let anyone miss your calling because you didn't really fit into their mold. All right? Because guess what? They'll support you over time. It might not be in the way you want. It might not be with their words, but just look at their actions. Hey creatives, thanks for listening to the Conscious Creative Corner. If you like the show, be sure to rate, subscribe, and review on Apple Podcasts or the listening platform of your choice. It helps other creators find ways to listen to our uncensored truth. Be sure to check me out on Instagram to let me know how you enjoy the show with a screenshot of you listening. You can tag us at NearlySia, or if you visit thecccorner.com, you can leave us a review there. And if you're a struggling creative or you just need some help with your creativity, check out the show notes. There will be a free guide there for you, and there are tips there for creating content or for you to really dive into your creative zone. Don't let this episode stop you though. Please share this episode with a friend, or you can visit our Patreon page for cool bonuses, and you can join our creative community. In there will be some tutorials and ways that you can unleash your creativity. I'll talk to you in the next episode.